I love Creative Mornings. I love this movement. I was just talking to Alan and I was like, these are my people. Like, where have you been all my life? I wish I had this at the beginning of my career at a time where creativity in business was actually a business school course, like, because it was so radical to have the concept that there could be creative people inside of a business. The other thing I want to say is, first, I'm not a designer. I don't have a degree in design. What I've learned is through my work and through my heart. I've made a career out of corporate innovation, and a lot of people think that's actually an oxymoron. It's not. There actually is a lot of cool innovation going on inside large corporations in America. Shout out to my team at Humana who's doing this. So I have made a career. I've done it in a variety of industries. I've been in financial services, in retail, in technology, in e-commerce, and now in healthcare. I've been in Silicon Valley for about 30 years. I'll pause for a second while you guys do that math. Geez, how old is she anyway? But I'm going to talk about designing for the senior population. A couple of caveats. The first is this is not going to be the take notes, tips and tricks on how to design. That's not what this is going to be about. I've been at Humana for about 3.5 years. As many of you probably know, Humana is focused on serving the Medicare population. And that's a population, many of whom are really challenged by chronic conditions, things like diabetes, like congestive heart failure, like kidney disease, like living with cancer. So it's a big deal. Why? Why is it hard? It's hard because the American healthcare system was pretty much designed around caring for people with sort of acute moments or conditions. Like, it's really good at taking care of somebody when they have a heart attack or when they have a car accident. If there's an urgent need, the system is really, really good. But the population is really changing, and healthcare needs to increasingly serve people that are living with chronic conditions, living with disease. And let me emphasize that. Living with a disease. It's a different kind of a care because people don't want to be defined by their conditions. They don't want to be defined by their disease. They want their condition to be in the background, and they want their life to be in the foreground. So we have a kind of a broken system. It's not actually serving the people who are facing real health challenges. And health is life, right? Health is vibrancy. Health is life. So if there's ever been a space where design, designers, reinventing experience are really urgently needed, it's in this space. It's the place that's really broken and a place that's about life. So I'm going to set the stage. There's an amazing video I've got here to run that. Can you guys run that? Isn't that exquisite? This is just a really important reminder of how important our work is, the mandate that we have as creatives. At the core, our work is rooted deeply in empathy, that emotional connection. You saw connection and love. These are all core. We have to be the ones that are making sure that we are deeply, deeply connecting emotionally to others in the work we do. Our job is to be relentless advocates for love and for delight because it matters. And I would say it especially matters around health, which, as I said, health is life. And I would argue that the experiences right now that are designed for the senior population rarely delight them, especially in the healthcare system. So why is that? What is happening? Are we effectively deploying empathy in that space? What does it feel like to be older in our society? How are we deeply, deeply connecting to these older people emotionally? And how do we do that? How do we even do that? How many people here in this room are over 65? Okay? So, meet my mom. This is her when she was approaching about 80 years old. My dad died suddenly at the age of 70, and after about 50 years of marriage, my mom had lost her best friend, her companion in their sort of adventurous, travel-filled life. After he died, she didn't stop. This is my mom's Christmas card photo from a trip to South Africa that she took a few years after my dad died. My mom and dad traveled to Tibet in the early 80s. well before it became a tourist spot. They traveled to Antarctica way before it was cool to do that. Trips in Russia, traveled to Mongolia and Nepal. They were in their 50s and 60s exploring the unexplored. As well as being an adventurer, my mom was driving force of a board of our local hospital. She created and ran the hospital gift shop. She built a hospital, the cafe there. Both of those became key sources of funds for the hospital. She was an avid reader. She read everything. She designed, built, and operated our elementary school library. Before that, there had not been a library at my elementary school. She built it. She was a sports nut. She was a killer tennis player, like fiercely competitive. A great skier, an amazing sailor, a swimmer, a dog lover, dog person here, and a die-hard Red Sox fan, and she was hilarious, by the way. So let me ask you, there was an interesting reaction when I brought this up when I talked about my mom on her trip to South Africa. There was kind of a reaction, a little moment. How many of you guys were like, oh my God, that's so cute, that's so cute, that's so awesome? Yeah, there's some like, yeah, right? We're gonna talk about that. As you get older, the things you used to find easy get hard. So here's how the story unfolds. My brother, in Massachusetts, I grew up in Massachusetts, was deployed to Iraq during the Iraq War. He couldn't be around for her, and she lived alone on the top of a hill in Massachusetts. Her health was declining. She faced yet another incidence of colon cancer, lymphoma, and she was facing dementia. So when my brother was deployed, Mom came to live with me and my family in California. We thought temporarily, really just till we figured out what was kind of going on with her health. It turned out to be the last 15 months of her life. Here's my favorite story about my mom. My mom had had several bouts with deadly melanoma. She'd had several chunks taken out of her body from her arm and her leg. We called them her shark bites. And she'd had multiple surgeries for colon cancer. And as I mentioned, she'd been diagnosed with lymphoma, which is a pretty nasty blood cancer. When I took her to meet her new primary care doctor in Palo Alto when we were trying to figure out what's going on with her, he asked her about her health. She said, I'm super healthy. And I did this Scooby-Doo moment. I did what I'm like, I just chastised. I'm like, Mom, you've had melanoma, you've had colon cancer, you've got lymphoma. And you know what she said? She says, yeah, but it's not like I get colds or anything. She's like, I'm super healthy. And frankly, honestly, that was true. She was. So let's let that sink in for a second. How is that for her frame on health? We all saw her as sick, but she saw herself as super healthy. So she missed her home in New England, the house that my father had built with his own hands, and the place she swore she would never leave. It was very tough for her. It was actually tough for all of us. I had two very young children at home, and I was working full time and taking care of my mom, and it's tough for young kids to really understand dementia. And at about month 12, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. So this was really quite a time in my life. But I would not trade that time for anything. My mom lived a full life for her last 15 months with us. She was part of our family, part of everything we did, going out to dinner, the movies, watching sports, hanging out with the dogs, until she died peacefully in our home surrounded by family. I learned a lot about aging, and I learned about the experiences of older people in the healthcare system and actually more broadly in society. And we have this medical system that's set up to treat conditions, but we aren't our diseases. And hospitals and nurses and doctors often see someone who comes in who needs help when people are at their weakest. When the patient is older, they perceive a very sick, feeble, like weakening person, not that vibrant, hilarious, powerful person beneath the sick exterior. Unlike for a young person, like as you age, the system makes assumptions about your vibrancy. Hospital personnel, if my mom had a couple stays in the hospital, they would come into my mom's room, and I don't know if you've ever watched hospital people change the sheets. They can do it while someone's in the bed. So they would come in and they would stand on either side of her, and while she was lying in the bed, and they would be talking to each other about something they saw on television the night before. Oh yeah, did you see that thing? And they'd be lifting the sheets, rolling my mom over, like she was a log, like she wasn't even there. They would come in and call her dearie and sweetie, and like talk to her. She was like she was a child when they were taking her temperature. It was stunning. So I just want to be a little bit unorthodox for a second. I asked how many people are in here are 65 or over, and nobody raised their hands. So I'm going to ask everyone for a minute to just sit comfortably and close your eyes. A little bit unorthodox, okay? Get your feet, sit comfortably. I want you to close your eyes. Now bear with me. We're not going to channel any past lives here or anything, okay? And it's probably a little bit uncomfortable and weird to do this with a group of people, but I think this is important. So close your eyes. Take a second to just notice your breathing. Feel the air going in your nose. Feel your chest and ribs and belly. They're moving to your breath. Don't try to change your breath. Just notice it. Sometimes people get really acutely aware of their heartbeat when they do this, so if you hear it or feel it, just notice it. I'm just asking everyone to just pause for a second and just get acutely aware of themselves. Isn't it amazing when you just stop and notice your breath for a second? You just notice it's like always just there. It's doing its work, even when you ignore it. So just observe yourself breathing. Feel it in the back of your throat. Feel it going in and out. And when you do this, you start to get a sense inside of yourself of the you that is you. It's sort of separate from your body. That you is the real you. There's a you in there that you're observing. It's a little meta. That real you is there. It's always been there. It will always be there. That same thing that you're observing. It's timeless. It's not old. It's not young. It's just you, sitting, breathing, always there. Just keep feeling that. Sit with that for a minute. Okay, now take a second to open your eyes, stretch, wiggle in your seat, whatever you need to do to kind of come back in the room now that everyone's like super chill. Okay, now why the heck did I just do that? Why did I want you to stop and sense yourself, separate and distinct from your body, separate and distinct from your meat suit? The you that you observed has no age. It has no age. That's just your truth. So I asked this before. How many of you sometimes, like, you look at your grandma, your granddad, and you just think, they're so cute. They're so cute sometimes. Let me see hands. Oh, they're so cute. Aren't they cute? Yeah, they're cute. Now let me ask you this a different way. How about would you feel if you went back to your high school or college for like a career panel, and you're like talking about your work and the work you do, and they all sort of giggled and thought you were cute? Look at how cute those old people are telling us about their jobs. Aren't they cute? Now you're laughing, right? But, because you think maybe that couldn't be a real thing, but let me just tell you, I went back to my college reunion about a month or so ago, and I went to a women's college, and the women in my class are badass. I'm sorry. They're like doing amazing badass stuff. And, you've got like CEOs, there's people who are like experts in the world in cancer, and just, it's phenomenal. And we're all, went to college reunion, we're all drinking, we're having a good time, it's super fun. And they had some students, because we stay on campus, they had students who would kind of stay with us, because in case we needed to, get something from the school, or we needed to figure out where something was. We had these student escort people who were with us. And I can remember I was talking with some friends, and I heard them talking to each other. I heard the students talking to each other. And they were like, oh my God, they're so cute. And I was like, okay, nobody calls me cute. I'm just going to say that rarely happens. Funny, yes, but cute, I don't get cute that often. I am cute. I'll just like clear, just people don't call me cute. So maybe some of you are starting to catch what I'm getting at, but we are all so cool. We're like in the world. Look at me, I'm raising my kids, I'm working, I'm hanging out with my friends, I know all the cool memes, I'm listening to the best music, I'm going to like drink for kids next weekend. I'm so cool and I'm so in the world right now. Now, take that, dress yourself up in an 80-year-old suit with gray hair, wrinkly skin, add some weight for good measure. How about an oxygen tank? Carry that around with you. Now go out in the world. You are young, vibrant, and awesome inside. You are that you that you observed, that timeless, ageless you that you observed. But the world sees you as needy, washed up, no longer relevant, to what's awesome now. That's what it feels like to be aging, I think. You've lived a life of coolness and awesomeness and relevance, and now you're wearing an old suit. People look at you funny, and they think you're cute when you have an opinion. Strangers pat you, and they think you need help all the time. That's probably what it feels like to be a senior. So the title of this talk's about designing for seniors, but it's really about empathy. It's about emotional connection. So how do we get there? So I want to implore you to thinking about designing for seniors is really about designing from your own deep emotional truth. Design from your own heart, from that you that you just observed. Designing for seniors, in a way, is designing for you. Because here's the dirty little secret. You are all getting old. You are never going to be any younger than you are today. So don't design for some mystical, cute, little old neighbor lady, because that's the wrong frame. You're designing for a jazz musician, for a college professor, for an airline pilot, for a soccer coach, for a Navy commander. Because to design, to delight, you need to design for emotional reality, which is the truth of who they are. They have the same timeless self in them that you do. They are not very different from who you are. They may be differently abled, but they were teachers, leaders, business people, creators, inventors, just like you. And inside, they aren't any different. It's just their body that has changed. So to design for seniors, we have to be looking inside ourselves more, I think. Design to your emotional truth. Design to that timeless you inside of you. You are not your meat suit. You are the vibrant, alive, breathing, loving, engaged, whole, thoughtful, hilarious, joyful you. So that emotional truth is going to help you build the solutions that delight. Thank you.